Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table. And today we are digging into 14 lessons that I've learned, some of them the hard way, in 14 years of entrepreneurship, which I cannot believe. First of all, that makes me feel really old to be an entrepreneur for 14 years. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys do this, but sometimes especially with Cameron being almost 9 years old, I'm just like, how old am I? I'm very fortunate and very glad that I don't feel as old as I am, but it can definitely bring some perspective. So I wanted to really talk through important things that I've learned that not only have helped me or have really guided my path, but also that I think are important for every entrepreneur, especially entrepreneur moms. So let's dig into this episode. My goal for you here is for you to sit back, relax, listen. I'm wanting you to walk away with a shift in perspective, with a new way of thinking, with some helpful reminders, and of course, things that you can plug in instantly into your life. So let's get into it. First and foremost, my biggest lesson and my most important thing that I constantly remind people of is that customer service comes first. At the end of the day, if we don't have customers, we have no business. So if you are not treating your customers well, and if you are not giving your clients an incredible experience, getting them the results that you promise, following through with your word, then something has to adjust. So a lot of times if I'm working with somebody that has a lot of turnover or is constantly chasing sales, my question is always, why are we not retaining these people? What is happening inside your business, inside the operations, inside the delivery of the service or the product that is not providing them with what they want? Why are they not returning customers? Why are we not retaining them? And so I want you to think about today, how could you elevate your customer service? People in today's day and age can choose from a million different businesses that all do the same things. Obviously, your business is different because you are different. Your skills, your story, all of that applies in how you show up and how you lead and what you have built. And so your story is a huge part of this. But how can you differentiate yourself? Personal touches always go such a long way. Again, in today's day and age where markets are so saturated, it can be incredibly helpful if you, no matter your business size, people feel really special when they hear from the CEO and the founder. And so whether you are a team of 5 or a team of 500, make sure that you are implementing personal touches and make sure that you're paying attention to your retention and constantly asking for feedback. Number 2 is there's always going to be another opportunity. There are so many of us that move and are really afraid of missing out. We're moving from fear. We're feeling like, okay, I have to do this now. And I get invited to this thing and there's this opportunity and there's this. And you're constantly pulled in all these directions. And you think, okay, well, if I just say yes to all these things, then eventually I will have so much demand for my business that I won't have to do that anymore. And while maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but really you have to think long-term about like, what are you sacrificing to get there? And so it was really helpful for me to think through, what if there is always another opportunity? What if what is right for me will be for me? How can I trust and know that like, if I'm here for a long time, not just a good time, if I'm here for a long time, then why am I rushing? Why am I putting all of this on my plate? What am I saying yes to because I'm afraid there won't be another opportunity? There's a difference in saying yes because you're excited about something, and there's a difference in saying yes because you're afraid there won't be another opportunity. So trust and just know that there's always going to be another opportunity. If you're feeling guilty about saying no to something because you have been traveling too much and you're not seeing your kids, that's okay. Honestly, like even asking for a compromise. So I had a client a while back that she got this really great opportunity that was from actually the Gates Foundation. So quite a big deal, right? And she actually ended up saying yes to this, but the date that it fell on was during her family vacation. So long story short, we talked through this and I'm like, what do you think would have happened if you would have asked them for potential other dates? They could have said no, right? They could have said, this is the only time we could do this. And then you could have made that choice. But I think sometimes we forget that since we're so afraid of missing out or missing the opportunity, sometimes we forget that we can make the opportunities work for the capacity that we have. So just remember, there will always be another opportunity, and to just say yes to the things that feel truly aligned. Number 3, everything falls apart if you don't have a solid foundation, and your foundation is you. And so I want you to think about what is occurring when you are alone. What is occurring when you are in your home? If you feel anxious and stressed and emotionally heightened the majority of the time, if your home and your relationships feel reactive and chaotic, that is not a solid foundation to build from. And so oftentimes we use our businesses as a distraction from these things, but the reality is they're going to keep popping up. So if your marriage is crumbling, if your relationships with your kids are stretched thin or non-existent, if your relationship with yourself is suffering, somehow, some way, that's going to show up in your business eventually, and you can only ignore it for so long. So just remember that everything will fall apart if you're not paying attention to your foundational needs and the things that are right in your home. Number 4, you need relationships that you feel safe in. So a lot of times when people are succeeding and they have built something great, there is this shift where we become afraid of losing it all. And so we become afraid of losing it all, and we can start to think that, like, are people just in relationship with me because they want to take from me? Are people just here because they want to see, what I can do for them? And so it's important for you to really establish relationships, be that in your home, with your partner, with your children, and your friendships, with a coach or a mentor that you actually feel safe in. The reason being is that when you feel safe, you are going to be able to get a better transformation. This is one of the reasons why I prioritize creating safe spaces, whether that's in group calls or at my retreats, because I know that when you feel safe, you open. And when you open, you become vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you can get real change, because we can find out what exactly is really going on in your emotion and your energy that is then rippling into your business. So prioritize safety and trust in your relationships. And if you have a relationship right now that is, even if it's in your marriage that you don't necessarily feel safe, that's a call to action for you and something to pay attention to. Number 5 is to always believe in what you do. It's really easy when things aren't working the way that you want them to, or when you start to fall behind or sales start to slip, that you start questioning yourself. At the end of the day, yes, your business is a physical representation of not just you, but of something that you created. But if we make everything personal, and if we start questioning on ourselves, and if every time something goes wrong, we retract and we feel inadequacy and we go back into, not feeling enough, then we're going to be riding a roller coaster ride. It's so, so important that you really constantly remind yourself of the importance of your voice, the importance of your mission, and the importance of what you have created. When you feel and know the importance of that, when you believe fully and wholeheartedly in what you do, you're going to make different decisions. You're going to show up differently. You're going to have different types of conversations. There is no way that you could ever stop me from being passionate in speaking to what I do and how I do it, because I have seen the effect and the ripple effect, not just on the people that I'm working with, but also on their relationships, on their families, on their team members, on their businesses themselves. And so just give yourself some time to really celebrate and sink into the results that you have created. And remember that you have to believe in yourself. And if you struggle with believing in yourself, this is where those safe relationships and those reminders from the people that love you can really help too. Number 6 is personal development is business development. If you have been in business long enough, you understand that when you continue to succeed and when you rise, there are a lot of things that come at you that are unexpected. When you first start off in a business, you're very excited. It's very strategy based. It's just taking messy action and continuing to show up and take action, because as long as you're taking action, you're moving the ball forward. But then as we continue to do that, we start having thoughts pop in, thoughts of inadequacy, thoughts of, is this working? Thoughts of, is it enough? Imposter syndrome, all of these things start to happen within us. And so it is important that we have tools and we have guidance and we have direction, because these are things that can really throw us off track. And so a lot of times, if we were to lay out your roadmap, right, and we were to say, okay, what are the things that detour you? What are the things that knock you off your path? It's usually these moments of hardship, right? These moments of hardship that are caused either externally by something happening that was outside of your control, or something internally, some sort of thought pattern, some sort of habit, some sort of behavior that has brought you back into this place of darkness, if you will. And then we think about like, how much time have we wasted being in that place? Versus if we have tools, because we're constantly working on developing ourselves as leaders, as women, as mothers, as partners, if we are consistently learning about how to better navigate life and better navigate our thoughts and our brains and our behaviors and our habits, if we are learning consistently about those things, then we are just filling our tool belt so that when we get to these areas, when we have these hardships that we're facing, we know exactly what to do. And so I would really encourage you to think about what areas do you keep running into that are keeping you stuck? Like, what are the thoughts or the patterns that keep popping up? And this is a big reason why my advisory and coaching is structured in the way that it is, because at the end of the day, I could tell any of my clients, go do X, Y, and Z. Let's create a strategy. Let's build out the tactics that are in alignment with the strategy. But if we build that out and I tell them to go forth and conquer and they don't believe in themselves, or they're, frozen by imposter syndrome, then it's not going to happen. And so this is why in the Life First Business Method, we're addressing the internal operations, which is the mindset, the patterns, the behaviors, so that when you have the tactical aligned plan and action, you can do those things because you believe in yourself. And again, you have the tools to be able to challenge the thoughts that are trying to stop you. Number 7 is not going to surprise any of you, but health habits keep you sane. Moving your body is incredible for not just your health. It's also incredible for your brain. And it is something that should be a non-negotiable, I think, for every single human being, not just business owners, not just entrepreneurs, not just moms. Literally every human being should be moving their body in some way every single day. The reason being is that there is so much that is created. It's not just about the physical effect. It's about the relationship with yourself. It's about showing yourself that, hey, I show up for me. I'm worth showing up for. It's about the confidence that it builds. It's about what you do with that confidence because you're showing up for yourself. And so I think one of the biggest bangs for your buck, if you will, in terms of ROI is exercise. It is one of the things that will allow you to, again, be more confident, make better decisions, believe in yourself, right? And to feel confident in the rooms that you enter. So your health habits need to be prioritized. And if your business is not allowing for that to happen, if you're constantly running out of time, then something needs to shift in your business. We can talk about that. Send me a message. Number 8 is do not be afraid to experiment or fail. I will honestly tell you that I have probably failed more than I've won. And it's something actually that I was talking to Cameron about this morning, my oldest, because he gets very frustrated when he loses, as any 8-year-old probably does. And what I explained to him is that, buddy, you are probably going to lose more than you win. But every single loss has a lesson. And so I actually used to think about, okay, I have 2 options here. I can either beat myself up for losing, or I can say, okay, why did this fail? What were the lessons and what can I do better? I think a lot of people cap their potential because they're so afraid of failing that they don't try. And if you don't try, you'll never know. And then you're going to be full of regret. So just remember that experimentation and failure is part of the plan. And it honestly can be where some of the biggest revelations and success are found. Number 9 is nobody cares as much as you do. This was something that I had to really work to find acceptance around, because I really wanted everybody to care as much as I do about my mission, about what I've created, about my work. And at the end of the day, it's okay that people don't care as much as you do, but we also want to make sure that we're asking, why do people, if they're showing that they don't care, why do they not care, right? And so if you're not giving clarity of vision, if you are not communicating to your team how their role is actively playing a role in the mission and how it is imperative for them to be a part of it, people don't have buy-in. And so I think at the end of the day, while nobody cares as much as you do, you have to ask yourself, are you giving them reason to care? Do they have a reason? Do they have a clear, again, connection to what their part is in what you are doing and what you are creating? Number 10 is leaders look at themselves first. And what I mean by that is personal accountability, honest accountability, an honest look at you first in every situation, and asking yourself a single question of what can I do better is one of the most powerful things you will ever do. It's not from a place of blame. It's not from a place of critiquing or beating yourself up. It's purely from the place of like, what is my role in this? If I have a client who is struggling with somebody on their team and they're struggling and they're, let's say this team member is not meeting expectations, they're not performing a certain way. My first question is not like, what are all the things they're doing wrong? It's, okay, well, have you given them clarity on what you want them to do? Do they know what the expectations are that you have? And so this forms this really powerful relationship to where you are essentially covering your own ass first, right? To where it's like, man, actually, I could have done this better. And not only are you covering your own ass, you're being a great example for your team, for your family, and you're showing up and you're saying, okay, I know how to look at myself first. I know that I can correct these things, which then puts you in that seat of control, which is really what we want, right? We always want to control everything, but we can't control other people. We can control ourselves, right? We can control how we communicate to other people. We can control what expectations we give other people. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are looking at ourselves first. Number 11, success extends beyond money. You know this, I know this, but it's hard to actually feel this because at the end of the day, a business needs money. A business needs money to stay alive. And so we have to remember that we get to define what success is. This is something that I have every single client do. I tell them, put pen to paper and think about first, what were you shown success was? What did your caregivers and parents show you? What did success mean to you growing up? Was it houses, cars? Was it all monetary and external, right? Because for most of it, it was. And then I want you to rewrite that. I want you to rewrite and say, okay, success to me is being able to take a Friday off and spend it with my family. Success to me is being able to stop working at 3:00 to pick up my kids. Success to me is having a marriage where I feel safe and heard and understood. Success to me is having enough people who are buying my services so that it pays for X amount of vacations or, it's up to you. And that's why this can be very open-ended. But if we don't have a definition, then we were operating from what we previously were shown. And so it's important for us to go back and say, okay, what do we believe about success? How do we define this? And are we taking aligned action that is in alignment with that definition? So redefine success because it does extend beyond money. The real wealth of life is time, is freedom, is being able to make memories with the people that we love. And of course, it's financial freedom, but we have to be holistic in our view. Number 12, speaking of money, prioritize profit, right? There is so many people who make millions and multi-millions of dollars, but they're scaling their lifestyle so fast that they're not prioritizing the actual savings and investing in the way that they need to. It's important to have a long-term view. And while businesses are always going to be up and down and profit margins are going to vary based upon your industry, it's important there is profit. If there's no profit, obviously in certain seasons there can't be, but that's something that we have to pay attention to. We need financial awareness. We need financial clarity. We need financial education. Don't shy away from looking at your numbers. And if there is no profit, asking yourself why, asking yourself what needs to change. Are you undercharging, right? And so if we look at something and we're honest about something, then we can create solutions for it. But we need profit to be able to sustain. If we have no profit, we can't sustain our business. We can't keep our doors open. Number 13 is finding team members and relationships outside of your business that actually challenge you and hold you accountable. None of us like change. None of us like to be called out. None of us like to be pushed. But in the same sense, those are the same things that actually make us better. If you could think about anything that is an advancement in a direction, you could directly tie that to something that was probably hard or uncomfortable, right? So if you think about training, right? If you are a runner, you're going to have to run hard to get faster. If you are trying to get stronger, you're going to have to lift weights and have what I would call in my powerlifting days is like some sick grinders to where you're having to really push through. At the end of the day, no, we should not be chasing the hard all the time, but we need to be challenged and we need people that can reflect things back to us and say, hey, I think you're holding yourself back here, right? And that's why I always say, like, I call you out to call you up. Because in order for us to rise to a new potential, for us to secure new opportunities, for us to become, the women that we are supposed to be, there has to be change in how we are operating and how we are communicating and what we believe we can do. And usually in those first stages of developing who we are becoming, there's a lot of fear there. And so we need accountability. We need people that are going to say, hey, you're holding yourself back, or hey, you said you were going to do this thing and you're not doing it. And when you have that accountability, yes, it might fluster you at first, but when it's from people who love and care for you, they're just inviting you into something bigger and better. And last but not least, for number 14 is we have to learn how to make decisions faster. At the end of the day, there are so many people that waste so much time sitting in indecision. They're not sure, they don't know. It's like they're scared. There's all these different things that are pulling. And I would say that at the end of the day, the worst thing that you can do is sit in indecision. The worst thing that you could do is sit in uncertainty. Be certain in yourself and certain that when you make a choice, something's going to happen. And even if that thing that happens isn't necessarily what you expected, there's still something there for you. How would you make decisions if you knew every single decision that you made on the other side of that decision was going to be something greater? If every decision you made, you knew that. Maybe some of those decisions you have to go through hardship first. Maybe some of those decisions will require pressure or accountability that feel a little bit scary. But at the end of the day, sitting in indecision is a waste of time. Sitting in indecision and not being confident in your ability to make decisions is going to leave you in a place to where you're continuing to not build the trust that you need in yourself. So that is what I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening to this run through of these 14 lessons. I hope there was at least one or more of these that you needed to hear that lit a fire under your ass. Once again, I am always open to your feedback, your conversations, your questions. I love when you guys repost the podcast. I love when you guys share the podcast. I love when you guys message me your personal insights and deliver. I love hearing your heartfelt messages. So keep doing that. And thank you for listening once again. And if you are in a position where you're like, this is the year, we're going to finish 2025 different than how we started it. I know that I need to lead differently. I know that there is an expert set of eyes that I need on my business to be able to create what I want, to be able to have the life that I want and the business that I want. Please click the application link below. Once you apply, we will look over your application. We will see if there's potential for a right fit. And then you and I get to have a one-on-one call and make sure that it feels good for both of us. So that's the process. And again, thank you for listening today. And I will talk to you guys next week.